Hello and welcome back to the next video. Now in the last video we have seen how easy it actually is to create a visual report in Power BI, but most of the time the data is not that easy as we had in the easy XLSX file, right? So most of the time we need to do some kind of pre-processing, we need to do some kind of data transformation, cleaning things up, and so on. So in this video I'll just give you a brief introduction to the dataset we're going to use in the next couple of videos during the course, okay? And what we have here is we have an Excel file, which you get from the resource section. You can download it, and you can see we got 2019 sales, 2018 sales, as well as 2017 sales. Now, the important point here is that these three sheets we got in this Excel file are structured exactly the same way, okay? And you can see it here. We got an order ID, we got a product ID, we got a location ID, salesperson ID, customer ID, purchase date, as well as a quantity and the price, okay? So if I simply go to the 2018 sales, you can see we got exactly the same here. If I click on it, you get exactly the same here. 2018, it's just the date, right? And also for 2017, we click on here, we can see that these are the sales for 2017, okay? But the structure remains the same, which is important because in Power BI, we then want to simply put all these three sheets together, okay? We want to combine them, basically. Now, what you also can see is we got an order ID here, right? As well as a product ID, location ID, salesperson ID, and customer ID. So basically, we got no real values in here. We only got IDs. Now, depending on what's your background. So if you're an analyst, so you're probably more from the analyst side, then you might be familiar with VLOOKUP, for instance, in Excel, right? Or index match formulas. So if you come more from the database side, you already know or familiar with these key value pairs. Because what we basically do is, within this huge table we got, which is in this case our sales tables, we simply try to, using IDs, and then look those IDs up in other tables. For instance, in our case, for the order ID, in this case the order ID is fine because it's simply the order table. But for the product ID, for instance, for this specific product ID, we would refer to the products table, which we got here, and there we also have a product ID, and there we can find the product name, as well as the cost, original sales price, discount, current price, taxes, and so on. So basically, for each of the different kinds of, columns here where we have IDs, we simply look those IDs up in the other tables, okay, to get more information about the product, for instance, or if we're referring to a location ID, about the location itself, or for the customer, of course, for the customer, and for the salespeople, for the salesperson's name in this case, right? So this makes things much easier because just think about it. Now, in the sales table, there might be the case that, for instance, a customer name changes because maybe the company changed its name, something like that, or we simply want to rebrand a certain product we have. Then we would also use another product name, for instance. So instead of simply then manually have to change this in each of the different rows here in our sales table, we simply need to adjust this one time in our products table, right? Because if we rename the product 12 here, for instance, if we rename it to, for instance, product new, then simply, if we have the relationship in Power BI, then all the IDs, in this case the PID 2011, so this specific product ID refers to all the IDs in the sales table. So basically all the new products will have this new product name. So we only need to change it one time, right? Which makes things much easier. And also, not only for this kind of tracking purpose, but also, of course, for the data size. Because just remember, it's much easier and to store data in IDs because this is much smaller, okay? If we store all things in string values, like for instance here the product name itself, then the data model itself is much bigger, okay? And that's a problem, especially if you deal with huge data sets, okay? So this is also a reason why we simply use some kind of VLOOKUP, if you know this, of course. So we simply use this and look up the specific value we need in another table. In this case, the products or locations or customer or salespeople. The table, okay? So that's it actually for the dataset we're going to use. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.